guys, it's Stephanie with So Make It. We're back to put the bag all together. If you've enjoyed this video series, please like and subscribe, and there'll be more to come. I did box the corners. I measured 1 inch from the bottom and 1.5 inch from each side. I marked it and cut the little square out. I did cut the square out on the lining and on the exterior. Now I'm ready for the zipper in the bag. I have a 13-inch zipper. I'm going to make sure that when I pin or clip my zipper into place that I have the zipper stop out of the way. So I'm just going to line it up teeth side down on the exterior of the bag and clip it into place. Now I'm taking the lining and I'm lining the lining up with the exterior from side to side, and then I'll line it up on the top and clip it into place. I do have them pretty sides together. Now I have the zipper clipped in. I'm just going to sew across with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. You notice that zipper stop is out of the way. When I start sewing, I will backstitch at the beginning and at the end. I just kind of use my presser foot as a guide. It's sliding right along the edge of the zipper teeth. And you can always use a zipper foot here if your presser foot is too big and you like to do something like this. I always just check to make sure that my zipper didn't slip out of place. I know I clip it in every time, but I always want to make sure that I didn't run off, or make sure that everything looks right. And then I'll just kind of finger press that out of the way and put the other panels on. So here I have my other exterior panel. I'm going to put it right sides together with the exterior panel that I already have on the zipper. My zipper teeth are going to be face down on the exterior. I'm just lining it up from side to side, and then I'm going to clip the zipper to the top. And after that, I'm going to put the credit card slot panel face down onto the other lining, and I'm going to get that clipped into place as well. So I have the 3 layers. I have the interior or the lining, I have the exterior, and the zipper. Just kind of making a zipper sandwich there. Now I'm just going to sew the zipper into place using the same method I used a moment ago, just lining it up, using my presser foot and the zipper teeth as a guide. I am going to backstitch beginning and end. And I'll just check my work here again to make sure that I didn't run off, make sure that everything looks good. And then I'll press the lining and the exterior down and top stitch across the zipper. Now I'm just top stitching with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance across the top of the zipper. I'll do that on both sides. This does two things. It gives it a nice finished look, and it kind of holds the lining out of the zipper when you're using the bag. It doesn't allow it to fold up into the zipper teeth, and kind of just keeps it out of the way. So I'm just flipping it around and top stitching the other side. I'm just grabbing the D-ring tab that I made in an earlier video, and I'm going to put one on each side of the exterior. I'm just going to eyeball it. It's going to be about 1/2 inch down from the zipper, and I'm going to leave about 1/2 inch of that D-ring tab showing, and I'm just going to kind of baste it into place here. And I'll do the same for the other side. And I'm just going to put that second D-ring tab on. Again, about 1/2 inch down from the zipper and about 1/2 inch of the D-ring tab sticking out or laying across the exterior. Now I'm going to unzip the zipper and start pinning it. I do want to pin the zipper into place so that it doesn't get wonky when I'm sewing the bag together. You can choose to pin it or not. That's completely up to you if you decide to make this bag. It's just something that I like to do. I think it helps me keep everything lined up. And then I'm going to make sure that I have my Welt zipper pocket unzipped, because this is where I'm going to turn the bag through. And I'm going to start clipping everything into place so that I can sew the bag together. I've pinned that zipper down so that it's nesting nicely in the lining. And now I'm going to line the sides of my lining up and clip it together. And then the bottom, I'm going to line that up as well and clip them together. I'm going to do the same for the exterior panels as well. I'm just going to line everything up and clip everything together. So now that I have everything clipped together, I am just going to sew down each side and across the bottom of each panel. I'm not having to leave an opening to turn because I'm turning through that zipper pocket. I am going to backstitch at the beginning and end of each seam because I am going to pull on it a little bit when I put those box corners together. So here I'm sewing across the bottom, backstitching. Now I'm going to sew up one side. I am going to backstitch here as well at the start and the finish. As I come to the D-ring tab, I'm just going to kind of feel to make sure that that D-ring did not flip over into the seam line. I'm going to backstitch a few times over the D-ring, and then I'm going to sew right over the zipper. I am using a nylon zipper, so I'm able to sew over the zipper teeth. If you're using a metal zipper, you'll need to choose a different method if you're making the bag. I've just flipped it over and I'm going to sew up the other side. I'm going to backstitch beginning and end. And as I come to that D-ring on this side, I'm going to just feel and make sure that it didn't jump over into the seam line as well. And I'm going to backstitch a couple of times over that D-ring. And then I'll just continue and sew right over the zipper again and all the way to the end and just backstitch at the end. Now I'm just going to sew across the last side, backstitching beginning and end. For the box corners, I'm just going to grab the corner of each piece and I'm going to kind of pull it apart, and I'm going to line up the bottom seam and the side seam. And then I'm going to stitch across that with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. I do stitch across this a couple of times. Now I'll just repeat that same process for all 4 corners. I'm just going to grab that corner, pull it out, line up the side seam and the bottom seam, and stitch across with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now I'm just going to repeat that same thing for the 2 box corners on the exterior of the bag. I'm just grabbing the corners, pulling them apart, lining up the side seam and the bottom seam, and also across with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Last corner, y'all. We're almost done. Just grabbing those corners, pulling them apart, lining up the bottom and side seam, and sewing across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now it's time to just trim off that excess zipper, the excess D-rings, get all those extra threads out of the way because I'm a horrible trimmer. So just give the bag a little haircut, get rid of that excess stuff, and get ready to turn the bag out. I'm just going to reach up in the opening of that Welt zipper pocket, and I'm going to remove the pins that I placed on the zipper. Now that I have those pins out, I'm just going to reach up in the bag. I'm going to grab the bottom and just kind of pull it out. I'm going to get everything pushed out through that pocket opening. When you're turning things out, you just have to just kind of work with them, being careful not to pull too hard and rip your seams. I'm just going to push the corners of the box bottom out. And then I'm going to push the lining down inside the bag. After I've kind of pushed those box corners out, I'm just checking here. I've got some more loose threads. I told you I'm a terrible trimmer. Just pushing the corners out to make sure that I caught everything before I push it down into the bag. Now I'll just push the lining down into the bag, and then I'll work with my corners for the zipper, and then I'll be ready to close up that opening in the Welt zipper pocket. I do need to dust this bag off. I've got a lot of chalk residue. I use chalk to mark, and chalk shows very well on black. I just need to clean that up a little bit. It'll be fine. That's what the bag looks like. Now I'm just going to grab these Welt zipper pocket lining. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm just going to sew across there to close it up, using about a 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. by making that fold when I put the zipper pocket together, it's going to make it a very nice closing. I am going to do this on the machine. If you don't want the stitches to show closing that pocket up, you could definitely hand stitch that. It's inside a zipper pocket inside a purse, so I'm not concerned with the stitches showing for this. I did change back to a 2.0 stitch length, and I am just back stitching beginning and end just to close that pocket lining up. So that's what it looks like, and it's going to be shoved down into that zipper pocket. And we are all done with the exception of the strap. I'm not going to film the strap right now. I have a video, and I'll link it in the description box below if you want to make the adjustable crossbody strap. But I have the 2 bags, and they're done. I just need to clean my chalk off, and we'll be ready to go. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.